You, curious soul of the night, have you ever felt a hotel breathe after midnight? These 3 true ghost encounters are slow burn horror stories from night shifts and empty halls. A sealed room that won't stay shut, a forbidden floor with rules, and a ballroom where the music never stopped. Now, stay close, don't look away, and whatever you do, don't follow the sound. I took a job as the night clerk at the Westfield Hotel in upstate New York. A tired 4-story building with peeling wallpaper and an elevator that wheezed like an asthmatic every time it moved. Locals said it was haunted, of course, but every old hotel has stories. At the Westfield, almost all of them circled around one place on the 3rd floor, room 312. Room 312 had been vacant for years. An elderly man died there alone, and afterward, staff kept reporting the same things. Footsteps when the room was empty, the door standing open in the morning, a figure at the window that vanished when they checked. Management sealed the door and told us to leave it alone. My first week on the night shift passed quietly, and I started to think the stories were just tradition. On my 3rd night, I was flipping through the security feeds when something moved on the 3rd floor monitor. A long, thin shadow slid past room 312 and disappeared at the edge of the frame. No guests were checked in on that floor, and no staff were scheduled there. I frowned, blamed the ancient fluorescent lights, and kept working, until the front desk phone rang, and a low voice whispered, "Do not open the door," before the line went dead. For a moment, I just listened to the dial tone and my own breathing. There was no room number, no caller ID, nothing I could trace. I checked the 3rd floor camera again. The hallway outside 312 was empty, though the light above the door flickered once. I almost called my manager, then pictured him blaming nerves. Around 2:30, trying to prove nothing was wrong, I grabbed the master key and started my walkthrough toward the 3rd floor. The stairwell to 3 felt colder than the others. At the top, my breath fogged. Room 312's door, which should have been bolted, stood open. I knew I should turn back, but instead I pushed it wider. Inside, the bed was made, the curtains half drawn, and by the window, a hunched man stood with his back to me, wearing the suit from the photo in the office. Every hair on my arms lifted. Before I could speak, a voice slid into my head. "Leave. Leave now." I listened. I backed into the hall and ran down the stairs until I was behind the desk again. The manager sighed the next morning and said other clerks had reported the same things in 312, and that when they reopened it once the guests left before dawn and never came back. The last straw came a week later. I rode the elevator up, and it stopped on 3 instead of 4. The doors slid open on 312's floor, its door wide, and a bowed figure waiting just inside. I hit close until the car dropped. After that, I refused to go near the 3rd floor and quit weeks later. Even now, when I pass roadside inns, I stare at their windows. Sure, I'll see a hunched shape in a dark room. I worked nights as a porter at the Grand Vista Hotel, a 1920s high-rise that had once been a theater. You could feel its age in everything. Velvet in the corridors, worn brass railings, the faint smell of smoke in the carpets. Guests called it historic charm. Staff had another word for it. And one rule everyone knew: never mess with the 11th floor. Floor 11 had been sealed for years. On paper, it was under renovation, but no one ever saw workers go up. People whispered that lights flickered behind its doors, that the elevator stopped on 11 with no button pressed, that a woman in a nightgown watched from the end of the hall. I didn't believe in ghosts, but nobody volunteered to check. 2 weeks into the job, I got my first solo overnight shift. Outside, fog rolled in off the lake and blurred the city. Inside, the lobby felt too quiet. The chandeliers swaying through the air was still. I checked in a couple of late guests, watched the cameras. By 2 a.m, the building felt hollow, like it was waiting for something. That was when I heard 3 slow taps on the service elevator door behind the desk. Not frantic, steady, almost polite. I figured a housekeeper had forgotten a keycard. I unlocked the gate and slid it open. The elevator was empty, the light buzzing, cables ticking in the shaft. No voices, just a breath of cold air on my arm as I shut the door. It felt intentional. I turned back toward the lobby and froze. A woman stood by the stairwell, where the steps curved up toward 11. She wore a gray nightgown, barefoot on the carpet, hair hanging like a curtain over her face. I opened my mouth to speak, but a voice slid into my head first. Do not go up. Clear and cold, and it hadn't come from her mouth. My heart hammered. I grabbed my radio. It only hissed. My phone suddenly read, no service, though the lobby usually had full bars. The chandelier dimmed, and a wave of cold rolled past my shoulders toward the stairs. I turned. She was behind me now, head tilted at an impossible angle. One dark eye fixed on mine. Whatever held me snapped. I ran. I bolted down the service stairs and didn't stop until I was behind the front desk again, lungs burning. Security picked up, annoyed, and said the cameras showed nothing. Later, I asked an older porter about that floor. His face went gray as he listed the rules. Don't go up alone. Don't answer if something calls. Never follow crying. A guest in 1103 died during renovation and might still be there. After that, I stuck to the lower floors and walked faster whenever I passed the main stairwell, certain she was just around the bend. Eventually, I quit. I don't work nights anymore, but when I pass an old hotel, I still count the floors and study the dark windows, wondering if she's waiting on 11 for someone who thinks the rules are only stories. I was hired as a concierge at the Silverwood Hotel in Boston, a grand building with high ceilings, crystal chandeliers, and a reputation for being haunted. Most guests loved it for the charm, but staff whispered about the third-floor ballroom. No one had booked it for decades, claiming strange phenomena, cold spots, furniture rearranging, and the sound of music that nobody played. It was my second month on the job when I worked a night shift in January. The hotel was mostly empty, a few long-term residents staying in the lower floors. I was checking maintenance logs when I heard it. Faint piano notes drifting from the third-floor ballroom. I thought it was impossible. There was no power connected to that room. Curious, I took the service stairs. The hallway was cold, and the lights flickered intermittently. As I approached the ballroom, the music became clearer. Soft, melancholy. A tune I didn't recognize. I pushed the door open. The ballroom was vast, illuminated only by moonlight through tall windows. Dust motes floated in the air. There was a grand piano in the center. Its keys moved as if invisible fingers were playing, though no one was there. I stepped closer, heart pounding. The temperature dropped dramatically. My breath fogged the air. I called out, "Hello?" Nothing but the piano. Then I noticed shadows along the far wall, moving in sync with the music. Figures, men and women in formal attire from another era, dancing silently. I wanted to run, but my legs froze. One figure drifted closer, a woman with a painted face, eyes sad and hollow. She lifted a hand, gesturing toward me. A whisper, soft but clear, reached my ears. "Don't stay. Leave before the music ends." The piano stopped abruptly. The figures vanished. The cold air remained, pressing against me. I stumbled back, half blinded by moonlight. Once in the hallway, the lights flickered back on, and I swear I heard the faintest echo of laughter, like a party that ended a century ago. The next day, I asked a colleague about the ballroom. She went pale. Staff call it the dance of shadows. No one who's gone in alone at night ever stays long. Some say the spirits of the original hotel guests never left, and they don't like visitors. I never went near the third floor again alone. And whenever I hear faint music in empty rooms, I feel that cold, expectant gaze on me. I've learned. Some places carry their memories so heavily that they will not let go. And sometimes, those memories are waiting for the next living person to witness them. Still here? Thanks for listening. If you want more longer horror stories, subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you're ready for the next nightmare, tap the next video on screen.